The walnut industry today is going through a serious transformation that I have not experienced before. There are certain components of it, and I will try to explain them. Californian walnut industry has been mostly funded by hedge funds, by investors, financial investors, which saw that planting walnuts is a good investment, long-term investment. So when they find something, they can find almost unlimited amounts of money, so they can do it very large. I think over the course of the last 30 years, walnut production, walnut plantations in California has been overly explored. This has caused the production to come up, but at the same time, during the last 10 years, this has caused the prices to come down. There's also a trend towards marketing kernels as opposed to selling them in shell. Currently, because of this, the first trend that I mentioned, California orchards are being removed. They are literally removing the trees or simply stopping to look after them. And I will get into that later on. China. China has always been the largest producer of walnut in the world. But up until very recently, China has been mostly an importer of walnuts because of their walnut eating culture. But lately, walnut production in China has increased significantly, and walnut production is coming to Europe from China. During the COVID time, governments, people, retailers have noticed that sourcing local is an important priority in order for ensuring food safety. So local sourcing is becoming more important. And at the same time, at the final note, I included Ukraine, the sleeping giant in Europe. Ukraine is not only, as I told you, not only the largest grower in Europe, but at the same time has the potential to increase its productivity significantly. Right now, due to the unfortunate circumstances that is going on, this economy, this industry is under high pressure. So let's get into details. Between 2004 and 2024, so roughly in about 21 years, here's what happened in production of Californian walnut industry. From 295,000 all the way to 750. And these are the prices, unit prices, average unit prices per kilogram of in-shell walnuts, FOB in California. Look at the prices. The prices in 2014 was about $1.53 per kilogram. It reached to a point of over $4 per kilogram in-shell, FOB-based California. You see what happened? In 2022, they dropped down to a level of 66 cents on average. So it's about, I don't know, 1/6, significant drop. Now, as efficient as walnut production in California, this sudden drop, gradual drop in prices have affected walnut growing in California significantly. And one other aspect of it is probably the change of the water usage regulations. So all these combined together, you will see the blue dot, blue line that represents the average production cost of producing walnuts in California. Back in 2004, it was about $1.1 per kilogram. Over the course of the time, because of the inflation, because of the changes in the water usage, the costs have increased. Right now, the cost is about around $2 per kilogram. As you can see, at some point of time, a business that was once very profitable suddenly became a loss-making business.
Sorry, what happened in 2015? This drop in price, what explains the drop?
A record drop. It's mostly due to the increase of production. Probably that has also contributed to that. That has also contributed to that. Yes. So right now, a walnut grower, an average walnut grower in California, unless he's very productive, is actually losing money. Especially if you have older varieties, relatively higher cost of operating, you are losing money. That is why there's an immense pace of removal of walnut production. So people are taking their trees out in significant amounts. I was here back in July, and I made a similar presentation, and I thought that this would affect this year's productivity. It turned out to be true. So this year, production in California, if I'm not mistaken, dropped around almost 30%. Yes, seasonal effects can have an effect on this, but at the same time, removal of the harvesting areas has also contributed to this. So this is what I told you during my initial presentation, that your cost structure is of vital importance. Another aspect is that there's a gradual shift towards selling kernels. So because of the high pressure in prices, the industry, and this is just for California, but it is applicable to Chile, it is applicable to even China, is trying to sell their products in a more value-added way, reducing freight costs, shipping less volume, by selling more of the products in kernel rather than in shell. Currently, the entire production of California, whether it's sold overseas or locally, approximately 80% of the production is being sold as kernels rather than in shell. I think this is an interesting one. Please see these values. These are global walnut production, again, like everything else, all in-shell equivalent basis, and these are metric tons. In 2000, it was about 680,000 metric tons, global production. Right now, it is close to 2.7 million tons. Look at the increase. Now let's look at the exports, entire exports, not just California, but all international sales. This is the evolution of the walnut export market from 181,000 tons to almost 1.1 million tons. Now, the following slide will be, in my opinion, it was very interesting for me. I hope it will for you as well. Now, let's look at California's share in the export markets. So, of all the exports done in the world, how much of it is being done by Californian production? So, as you can see, between 2000 and almost around 2018-19, California production had a very important contribution of the entire world exports, which reached somewhere around 65% of the entire global supply. But look at the figures now. It has started to fall down, and I believe this decline will continue. This year, California is supplying less than 40% of the world's supply outside of US. I think this is alarming. Let's look at China. China, once a net importer of walnuts, as you can see, it has increased its contribution in the entire export markets to almost 30%. And I wouldn't be surprised if this reaches to 40% next year. Yes. Now, you can argue that there is an unfair competition producing in China and elsewhere, where you are faced with a lot of regulations about the type of products you can use, about how you treat your employees, social security, chemical usage. But this is the reality. This is the reality. Let's see Chile. Chilean contribution of the walnut export market has stabilized somewhere around 15%. I don't think that it's going to increase, and it can fall down slightly, but probably it will continue to be around 10 to 15% of the entire production, entire export market. I think this is interesting. This chart shows three different data. One is production, the green one is consumption, and the red one is exports. Now, China was still importing walnuts when it was exporting as well, so you can see the difference between consumption and production. Now, for the first time I can remember, China has become a major exporter of walnuts. I don't know if you have seen Chinese walnuts. I have. My daughter, young daughter, she's now 18 years old, she had bought me a small rubber eraser in the shape of a walnut. And I had it on my desk for a very long time. It's a perfect looking walnut. Obviously, it doesn't have the natural characteristics of a walnut. It is just too perfect. And when I saw a Chinese walnut, it was very difficult for me to distinguish which one it is, because it is unnaturally perfect. And I'm not saying this as a compliment. That actually feels that I should be a little bit skeptical about how it gets there. Walnut doesn't get so clean, so perfect by itself. There's a lot of chemicals used during the processing that would cause this perfect color. And there are some Chinese varieties that reach to an unbelievable in-shell yield percentage of 64-65%. Amazing. Although their taste is not very good. So it is very important for anyone being involved in walnut production, and that includes our friends in Ukraine as well, to maintain their cost structure. Maintain their cost structure and quality. And at the same time, I think, again, this is my personal opinion, but as an industry, you should try to make this unfair competition a little bit difficult by actually getting some Chinese walnuts, getting them tested, and seeing if they have any chemical residues in it. And if so, letting the market know about this, because you won't be able to compete with their prices, even if they are imported from China to here, with your production costs. You won't. It's just amazing. My presentation is over. I hope it has been helpful for you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Murat.